Hey everybody. It's good to see everyone. If you can't hear or see me, leave a comment and we're about to get started. Okay, so for those of you who are just joining us for the first time or might not know who I am, my name is Alicia Ruby. I am the Executive Director and founder of In Harmony Therapeutic Services. In Harmony is a not-for-profit private practice based out of Cleveland, Ohio. We specialize in utilizing trauma-informed music therapy and providing services for children who might not otherwise be able to afford the service. And so with this trauma-informed certification that we have and this trauma-informed practice, we are able to look at this current situation in a little bit of a different lens. And so we had a live stream last weekend in which we talked about how we as adults can identify and mitigate our stress response. And the reason that I gave for doing the talk focus on adults first was you can't pour from an empty cup. And like I'll say later in this presentation, an escalated adult cannot de-escalate an escalated child. So it's important that we as caregivers, as guiding adults, know our own limitations and are aware of that stress response in ourselves for our own benefit, but also for the benefit of our children. So this talk is geared a lot more towards how we can help our children process and cope with what is going on in the world. If you haven't watched that live stream that we did last week, I would encourage you to do so because some of the things that we talk about tonight will be extensions of what we talked about last weekend. So our children are probably feeling a lot, even though they might not have the words to express what it is they are feeling. So they are likely to be feeling anxiety, stress, frustration, potentially grief. There's a lot of kids out there that are really disappointed in missed concerts, missed baseball seasons potentially, sleepovers with friends. For some of our older kids, high school graduation is up in the air right now. That can be processed as a loss and as grief. So it's important to recognize that they might be feeling and internalizing what's going on and feeling grief. I think I said vulnerability with this change in routine and how fast it happened. It can be very unsettling. It can be jarring for children. And and also the fact that we don't have a lot of answers as to when it's gonna end, how long we're gonna be doing this. Things keep changing at a very rapid pace, and that contributes to this feeling of being unsettled. So all of those feelings may begin to elicit a stress response in our children. And so we talked about last weekend when we talked about the adult stress response, that is the same for kids. So we talked about the fight, flight, or freeze region of our brain stem. It's called the limbic system and the amygdala. That is where we process danger, where we process stress responses. If that is activated, we cannot access the executive functioning part of our brain. And that's our forebrain, and that's what's in charge of rational thought, weighing our options and choosing the best, thinking through situations, that empathetic reasoning, all of that stuff isn't accessible. The other disadvantage that children have is that the executive functioning part of the brain, the forebrain, isn't fully developed in humans, research tells us, until the age of 25. So even your 17, your 18-year-old kids may not be able, have less of a chance of being able to access that executive functioning part of their brain if they're in a stress response. And so most children, even if they're going through stress, even if they're having that stress response, are going to be able to manage well because they have support from the guiding adults in their lives. But some children may be at risk for some more intense reactions. And again, like we said last weekend, if this is a prolonged event, and if that stress response is around for a long period of time, or it's severe enough, it could cause that trauma response to also kick in. And that would mean that they're experiencing feelings of helplessness, loss of control, loss of safety, and vulnerability. And that's when, structures of the brain can start to change and things can get even a little bit more complicated. But again, most children are going to manage well because they have the mitigating factors of the guiding adults in their lives being there for them, right? And it's important that we are there for them. And this is what this talk is about, because it will help mitigate that response. According to the National Association of School Psychologists, there's a couple things, though, that you do want to look out for if you notice that your child is exhibiting a significant behavior change, or if you notice any of the following. I'm going to list a few things to look out for more than 2 weeks. It would be appropriate to reach out to a mental health professional for some guidance. So in preschoolers, again, some of this is perfectly normal stress response. You as a parent know your children, but some of this could be, especially in a prolonged state, indication that you need to reach out to a mental health professional. So for preschoolers, you're looking for thumb sucking, bedwetting, clinging to parents, sleep disturbances, loss of appetite, fear of the dark, regression in behavior, and withdrawal. So if you think about that in terms of that fight, flight, or freeze, a lot of those can be placed into any one of those categories. For elementary school children, you're going to look for irritability. The parents of elementary school children are going, aggressiveness, clinginess, nightmares, school avoidance, poor concentration, and withdrawal from activity and friends. And again, a lot of this, we don't have school. Withdrawal from activities and friends, we're quarantined. So that might look a little bit differently in this period of time, but this is taken directly from the National Association for School Psychologists, and I'm in the description of the talk. There is a link to a Google Doc where I have compiled some resources for parents. In that link, you can click on the National Association for School Psychologists, the link that I have there, and this information can be found there as well. For adolescents, you're going to look for sleeping and eating disturbances, agitation, increase in conflicts, physical complaints, delinquent behavior, and poor concentration. So it's tough, right? And you as the guiding adult in their lives, you as the parent are going to have to, like yourself, be looking out for some of these that may be indicating a more substantial stress response. But it is normal. It is expected. It is okay for children to exhibit some sort of a stress response during this time. It's nothing to think, oh my goodness, my child is abnormal or something is going on. That's not the case. They're perfectly normal. This is an abnormal time. And so they will adjust and morph as the situation progresses. So it's Okay. Especially because there are things that we can do as the guiding adults in children's lives. As I said last weekend, as I said at the beginning, I'm going to say it now. An escalated adult cannot de-escalate an escalated child. I'm guilty of this. We all are. And I'm seeing a couple questions come in. Judy, I will get to yours in just a moment. I have it. I'm going to write it down. And I will come back to it if that's okay at the end. And if I don't answer your question fully, you can feel free to email me as well. If anybody else has questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment section. And I will get to them at the end, I promise. As parents, we're not perfect. That's okay. We don't have to be. This is not a space where we're here to judge each other. We're going to lose it on our children at some point in time. It's just human, and that's okay. We have to give ourselves grace. We can learn from those moments and try to put things in place so that it doesn't necessarily happen again. But we're not perfect. Give yourself grace. If you're feeling yourself getting escalated over, especially if your child is having these stress responses like sudden outbursts, if you feel yourself getting escalated, it's time to walk away for the moment until you can get yourself into a point where you're not having a stress response, and then come back to it. Be a role model where you can in this time. Try to model calm. Try to model reassuring behavior. If your child has questions about what's going on, offer answers where you can. Offer reassurance. Offer love and affection. This is an uncertain time. Offering your children love and affection is important. They are going to feel comforted and supported when they feel love and affection and reassurance from you. You are the biggest influencer of that in their lives. Explaining social distancing if the child is old enough to understand. So I was looking at some things from other trauma-informed providers, and one of the things that people were saying is social distancing is pretty much a made-up term that has only come into existence in the last 3 to 4 weeks. Some people who are not necessarily tuned into everything that's going on might not have any idea what those words mean. So we can't really expect our children to understand what they mean, especially if they haven't been tuned in. So it's important to explain to them what that means as best you can. This one is a big one. Establishing and maintaining a daily routine. Again, where you can, right? We have all been thrust into this role of parent, educator, where some of us are still working, and those are 3 separate jobs, parent, my job that I go to at my place of employment, and teacher. Those are 3 separate jobs for a reason. Okay? They're not meant to be done simultaneously. We're doing the best we can. But if it's possible to maintain and establish a daily routine, that is going to provide a sense of control for your child. That is going to provide a sense of predictability for your child. And that is going to promote a sense of calm and well-being for your child. So that I'm going to show you an example. My son is 2.5. And he typically would go to daycare while his dad and I go to work, and he has been home with us for the last 2 weeks. He is an only child. This is our schedule for him. It's a little crinkly because we used it today. I don't know if everybody can see this. So this is his whole day through dinner, and after dinner he gets free play. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. It's age appropriate. It has pictures. It would be better if I had pictures of our actual house and our actual nature walk, but it was like 11 p.m. when I put this together, so we got clip art. But it lays out for him the steps of his day. Breakfast, free play, nature walk, everything's laid out for him. And that way, when he says, and he's starting to get tired and he wants to play with his cars, we can go, let's look at your schedule. It's time for art and music, and then you're going to get some TV time. That helps him feel like he knows what's coming next. I'm not kidding. He's 2.5 years old. He referenced this about 10 times today and kept asking, can we check and see what's next on my schedule? It was really helpful for him. And anybody that wants resources like this, just email me or drop a note in the comments and I can send you some of this stuff. Offering choices where you can. So Judy, sudden outbursts over small things, that is something that's completely normal. That is potentially, and without knowing the situation, I can't, assess exactly what's going on, but it could be something as simple as, I don't know what's going on and I need grounding in this moment, and I can't necessarily control what is going on, but I can control me. And if I have an outburst, that is attention that's going to be on me and I can control that. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So something like a schedule may be really helpful, but also offering choices where you can. Do you want to do art or music today? Do you want to pick up your toys before or after lunch? Do you want me to brush your teeth or do you want to brush your teeth? Again, these are choices that don't escape the task. It's important that we have clear expectations and consequences, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but they do give a child a sense of control and a sense of autonomy. Do you want to read a book or sing a song before you go to sleep? And they get to choose. That might be helpful and cut down on some of those outbursts. But outbursts are normal. They are normal right now. They are normal. Trying to set clear expectations and consequences. Consequence does not mean punishment. Consequence is what happens after a stimulus. So there's typically an antecedent, there's a stimulus, and there's a consequence. If I eat 4 cookies, the consequence is I might feel really happy for a few minutes, then I also might get a sick stomach. Typically there are always positive consequences and negative consequences. So good consequences and not so good consequences. It is, if you clean up your toys, you get to have extra TV time. If you don't clean up your toys, you don't get to have extra TV time. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is. And consequences can be and should be that neutral. It just is what it is. There's positive consequences and negative consequences. So visual schedules lay that out for them and again provides them that sense of control. And the visual schedule that I showed you for my 2.5-year-old, that's also easily adaptable for any age child. Chore charts, I've also been hearing a lot of people are using. These are the tasks that you have to get done, especially for older children. Again, providing that sense of autonomy and choice. Doesn't matter what order you do them, doesn't matter when you do them, but they've got to be done in this order before you can get to this. In your house, it might be appropriate to set up a reward or token system. If anybody is interested in that, you can shoot a comment. Maybe we can have another live stream on reward and token systems at some point if people are interested. And verbal reminders. Hey, I'm noticing that chore chart might not be getting done. Remember, if you get it done, this is the consequence. If you don't get it done, this is the consequence. And reminding them of that. Identifying projects that might help others and involving your kids. So my son and I painted pictures for his grandparents, and then we wrote a little note and we sent them off to his grandparents who are missing him terribly. You can do chalk affirmations on your sidewalk so that as people are going for their daily walks, they feel affirmed. I've seen a lot of people making the surgical masks and involving their kids in that process, and sending them off to the hospitals, sending letters to the healthcare workers at the hospitals, making music videos and posting them for people to see if that's something that your family is into. Monitoring television and social media, just like we talked about last weekend, for kids, it can also be a lot. And watching, especially for older kids, if you're on social media scrolling through the news, and like I said in the talk last weekend, I am the worst at this. They're all like, have the TV on, and then I'm still scrolling through the news. That produces anxiety in us. So we can only imagine what that does for our kids. So this next one ties back to the offer explanations if it's age appropriate. So this is a rundown of keeping explanations age appropriate, and this is from the National Association for School Psychologists website as well. But I'm going to go through these. So for early elementary school children, so children in first, second, or third grade, provide brief, simple information that balances COVID-19 facts with appropriate reassurances that adults are there to keep them healthy and take care of them if they get sick. Give it simple examples of the steps people make every day to stop germs and stay healthy, such as washing hands. Use language such as adults are working hard to keep you safe. You can also say you are helping others by keeping space between you and other people. You are helping others by not seeing your friends right now. We're working hard for you. You're working hard for other people. We're all working hard together. Upper elementary and early middle school children, so this would be 4th, 5th, 6th grade. This age group often is more vocal in asking questions about whether they indeed are safe and what will happen if COVID-19 spreads in their area. They may need assistance separating reality from rumor and fantasy. Discuss the efforts national, state, and community leaders are doing to prevent germs from spreading. You can, with your guidance, take them to the CDC website and show them the factual information on the CDC website. You can help them look for resources. If they're really feeling like they want to know more, there's some resources in the page that I posted. There's like a kids guide. It's a podcast where kids ask the questions and the podcasters answer them. So they could even do some research on it potentially. Upper middle school and high school students, so grade 7, 8, and above. Issues can be discussed in more depth. Refer them to appropriate sources of COVID-19 facts. So this would really be where that internet search would come in. Provide honest, accurate, and factual information about the current status of COVID-19. Engage them in decision-making about family plans, scheduling, and helping with chores at home. So really including them and providing them autonomy in how they handle the situation at home. Staying connected to school as much as you can. That is a community for them. For some children, they may feel a sense of family in that environment. And so to be yanked out of that environment and then told you might get to go back in 3 weeks, and then, today, now it's May 1st, and we don't know if we're going to go back at all, can be really hard. Again, harkens back to that grief component that we were talking about at the beginning. Being a model by modeling hygiene and social distancing practices. And if your kids are old enough, explaining, we wash our hands like this and showing them why. I've seen some people posting videos of like putting gloves on and then like latex gloves and then putting paint in one of the hands, like you would soap, and washing their hands like you normally would. Like everybody has a routine for how they wash their hands, right? But when you do that, how you would normally wash your hands, you see that there are areas of your hands that the paint is not on, which means that the soap isn't getting there. So this would be a cool project that you could do with your kids. Let's talk about how we have to wash our hands to make sure that the soap gets everywhere. That means like doing things like this, making sure that we're getting the tops of our thumbs, making sure that we're getting underneath our fingernails, and then being the model for that in your house. Maybe you make your kid in charge of hand hygiene at your house. Johnny is in charge of making sure that everybody's washing their hands for 20 seconds. That would be a pretty cool job. Dad, you were only at 18, according to my watch. Try it again. You didn't use enough soap, whatever. That would be a cool job for them. And modeling social distance practices. So explaining, I'm helping keep others safe by keeping this distance. When you're out on your walks or out and about in some capacity. The last one is really giving yourself grace. This is an unprecedented situation. This is an unprecedented time. There is no handbook, no rule book, no playbook for this, much like parenting in general. We're going to make mistakes. We're not going to be perfect. You're doing the best that you can. And that is amazing. And you are doing amazing. And your kids think that you're amazing, unless you have a teenager, in which case. No, but even your kids, even your teenagers, maybe someday will think that you're amazing. For a lot of, especially the younger kids, I was talking to my husband the other night and I said, if Aiden remembers this time, he'll probably look back on it as a really great time in his life, potentially. He's getting to spend a lot of time with his family. And if you look at it as I'm not quarantined at home, but I'm safe at home, and we are exploring this time with family and, getting to know each other on a deeper level, that's a silver lining in all of this. So you're doing great. You are amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. It's gonna be great. You're doing great. In allowing yourself the grace to mess up, your children are also not perfect. They're also going to mess up. So if you're giving yourself grace, extend that grace to them as well. Accept that sometimes you're just in survival mode and the plan goes out the window. So the schedule's great, but sometimes things happen where it just has to go out the window, and that has to be okay because something happened and you just got to make it work. And if you got to make it work, you got to make it work. Throw the demands out the window, do what you need to do to survive, and that is also okay. Just know that you can always reset. When you do reset, you may have some pushback. So just expect that, when if you have to use TV or whatever it is when you're in survival mode, and then you say, okay, well, we're resetting with the schedule for the following day, there may be that. But today that's normal. Expect it. Have a plan for how to deal with it. Give yourself alone time away from your children if you can. This close quarters can make us all a little crazy, and all of the different hats that we're wearing can make us all a little crazy. This gets back to recognizing your own stress response and being able to have strategies to pull out of your back pocket to deal with that stress response. And again, you're doing great. You're doing great. You do not have to be perfect. You're doing great. So in this resource page, really quick, we're almost done. I just want to tell you what's in here. Again, the link is up in the description of the video. These are for you to look at. If you can't open them for any reason, if you email info@inharmonyservices.org or shoot the Facebook page a message, I will personally email them to you. There are resources from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. National Association for School Psychologists, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. This is a really great resource. If you go to the page and go to the right-hand side, there's a link to download a PDF. It will download on your phone, or at least it did on mine. It's a really great resource. I've also included a COVID-19 social story for children who may need a little bit of extra support in understanding what's going on. There is a kid's guide to the coronavirus from The Daily, the New York Times podcast. You can also search for it on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And then I included essentially a YouTube playlist for songs to ease your mind and soothe your soul. So these are 10 of my favorites. I feel like there's a pretty good diversity. This might also be helpful. We're about to do a song. We're about to do a song that's geared towards younger children. That's just fun and silly. Music is a way to lessen the stress response. It structures the brain. We talked about in the adult section last week about tasks that are repetitive. So things like knitting, coloring, drumming also utilizes that right brain, left brain, and crosses over. And music is inherently stabilizing for the brain because it activates so many areas at once. So we're about to do a song for little kids, but older kids can also participate, having them listen to a song and draw something that comes to mind when they're listening, or, using a song to talk to them about what they're feeling and what's going on, doing some drumming, doing a family TikTok. Teenagers would probably find that really not cool. But you could do a family TikTok. If your family is religious, you could sing hymns, singing together, being silly about it, and just letting your kids see you as the model, just be super silly, can be really helpful. So in that vein, I'm about to do a silly song. This is one of the kids, when I go into schools, this is one of their favorites. It's also one of my son's favorites, and it's called Little Bunny Foo-Foo. It's very silly. You do not need an instrument. Your voice does not have to be amazing. Anybody can do it. And with Easter coming up, it's about a bunny. So it's very fun. I'm just going to do a little bit of it. But this is a finger play song. And so this is a story song that utilizes fine motor skills. So we have the little bunny hopping and scooping with their hands, and then bopping them on the head. And then down will come the good fairy, and we'll see what she says. Little bunny foo-foo hopping through the forest, scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. This is the silly part that they love. Down comes the good fairy, and she says, Little bunny foo-foo, I don't want to see you scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. I will give you 3 chances, and if you don't listen, I will turn you into a goon. Do you think Little Bunny listened? No, I don't think so either. So the next day, Little Bunny Foo-Foo hopping through the forest, scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. Uh-oh. Down comes the good fairy, and she says, Little bunny foo-foo, I don't want to see you scooping up the field mice and popping them on the head. I will give you 2 more chances, but if you don't listen, I will turn you into a goon. Okay, Little Bunny has to listen this time, right? Like, he's only got 2 more chances. Do you think he'd listen? I don't think so either. So the next day, Little Bunny Foo-Foo hopping through the forest, scooping up the field mice and popping them on the head. Uh-oh. Down came the good fairy, and she said, "Little bunny foo-foo, I don't want to see you scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. I will give you one more chance. And if you don't listen, I will turn you into a goon." That's where you tickle them. Okay, seriously. Little Bunny's gotta listen this time. He's only got one more chance. Do you think that he listened? Oh, no, I don't think so either. So the next day, little bunny foo-foo hopping through the forest, scooping up the field mice and popping them on the head. Down came the good fairy, and she said, "Little bunny foo-foo, I don't want to see you scooping up the field mice and popping them on the head. I gave you 3 chances, and you did not listen. So now I will turn you into a goon." Poof. And the moral of the story is, hare today, goon tomorrow. The end. For the record, my 2.5-year-old is in the next room, and I can hear him going, "But I want to go into Mom's office and do Little Bunny Foo-Foo." It's a hit. I'm telling you. It doesn't have to be perfect. The sillier, the better. I promise. I promise. If you want resources for some older kiddos, again, shoot me an email, info@inharmonyservices.org. I will actually post it in the comments. Judy, I hope you feel like I answered your question. Does anybody else have any questions? Angela, I will get that scheduled to you for sure. Nobody else? No other questions? Oh, wait. Oh, Leah, thank you. Thank you. I didn't see any of these comments. Oh my gosh. So Leah commented, I'm going to read it for people that might not have seen it. Leah is very knowledgeable about trauma-informed supports, and she says the more stressed and escalated kids are, the more likely they will be to have an outburst over smaller things. Imagine it like a stress scale of 1 to 100. Typically, we live around a 20, but in unfamiliar or unstable situations, we may be living around an 80, which means we respond to small things as though the end of the world due to where we are on our stress level. Yes. Yeah, and Judy, those are all really good things that you're already doing. Let me look at this a little bit more, and maybe we can connect. Judy, if there's a way that you could shoot me like a private message, your email, or send an email to that info, maybe I can collect a little bit more information and provide you with some more custom supports. But because what you're doing looks really great. You're doing great, Judy. You're doing great. Seeing no other questions, we're going to wrap this up. Thanks for joining us. If you have some topics that you want to talk about, shoot us a message, and we can look at putting that together. And that's all for now, folks. All right, everybody. Until next time, be safe, be well, and we'll talk soon.